If you are a Warriors fan and are tired of waking up every day with empty rumors, broken promises, and the feeling that the team is trapped between a glorious past and a confusing future, pay attention to this, because information has just come out that could be the turning point that fans have been waiting for a long time. It's not just more social media noise, it affects rotation, project direction, and even what the team will look for in the season. And I'm going to explain to you directly what changed, why this decision could finally unlock the Warriors' path, and what this means for Steph, the cast, and the real chance of fighting at a high level again. Stay with me because in the next few minutes, everything will make sense. Before I show you the detail that completely changes the scenario and that many people still haven't noticed, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any updates from the Warriors, because this story can gain new chapters at any time. Leave a like now, because this helps the video reach more fans who are also trying to understand what's really happening behind the scenes. Activate the bell to receive everything firsthand, and comment below what your biggest hope and your biggest fear are with this possible change. And stay with me until the end, because I'm going to calmly connect the dots and show you what this could mean in practice on the court and in the team's next decisions. If you follow the Warriors closely, you've probably felt that mix of anxiety and impatience this season. In some games, the team seems to rediscover the essence that marked the dynasty: intelligent ball movement, rhythm, connected defense, that pattern that makes the chase center an impossible place for any opponent. In others, the feeling is that something is stuck, as if the team is always one decisive adjustment away from becoming truly dominant again, but without being able to cross that line. And that is exactly why this subject deserves our attention calmly, without easy exaggerations, but also without pretending that it is something small. Because when behind-the-scenes talk starts to emerge about a big move, the kind of move that could redefine the direction of a franchise for years, the story stops being just about yesterday's game or the next matchup. It becomes about the project, about the title window, and about what the board really believes is still possible to do with Stephen Curry leading this era. There is a pattern in NBA history. Great cycles rarely end smoothly. They require difficult decisions, and the Warriors have experienced this up close. The draft that brought Steph, Clay, and Draymond was not just a sequence of hits, it was the beginning of a philosophy. Kevin Durant's arrival was a watershed moment that changed the entire league, and even in more recent moves, the organization has always shown a clear characteristic. When it believes that the title is within reach, it is not afraid to be aggressive. The point that many people feel without even saying it is quite simple. The Warriors are not a bad team. No one seriously disputes this. But the difference between being competitive and being elite, especially in the West, is brutal. And the fans know it. You look at teams like the Thunder and Nuggets, observe the level of consistency, the size of the margin for error they created, and understand why the word good season does not satisfy a franchise that has built an identity as a champion. And here comes the question that hurts, but needs to be asked. What do you do when your biggest icon still plays at an MVP level, but the surrounding squad doesn't guarantee, night after night, the same feeling of dominance? Steph remains a walking sporting event. He still changes defenses with the gravity of his shot. He still decides games with a naturalness that defies time. But the NBA doesn't forgive nostalgia. You don't win today just because of what you once were. You get it for what it is now. Draymond, with all his historical and symbolic importance, continues to be a piece of defensive identity and leadership. Kuminga, on the other hand, represents future and athletic power, the type of player who can definitely explode and become a star. And Buddy Hield, within the role he received, offers professionalism, space on the court, and shooting. It's not fair to reduce any of their seasons to a simple label. Each one fulfills a real function within a rotation that tries to balance between experience and renewal. But the real world of a title fight is tough. Being good is rarely enough. And when the board looks at the calendar, at the cast's physique, at the behavior of the West, and mainly at the inevitable clock of Curry's age, it is natural for the conversation to change tone. What could previously have been, let's see if internal development resolves the issue, starts to become, we need a move that changes the category of this team. It is in this scenario that speculation surrounding Giannis Antetokounmpo arises. And here it's worth an important point when reading. We are talking about a possibility discussed in the environment of rumors and projections. Still, just the fact that a name of this size is circulated as a potential target already says something about the temperature of the moment, because stars at Giannis's level don't enter into conversations like this without there being a structural reason behind it. The narrative that feeds this type of hypothesis is known. A superstar trapped in a context that does not deliver year after year a stable title structure. When conversations about the future, internal assessments, and openness to different scenarios are mentioned, the entire league begins to recalculate possibilities. Not because it is simple to remove a player like that from the current team, but because the domino effect of a possible availability is gigantic. And within this line of speculation, the package projection that circulates in the analysis is heavy. There is talk of Milwaukee receiving Draymond Green, Jonathan Kuminga, Buddy Hield, and 4 first-round picks between 2026 and 2032, while Golden State would receive Giannis and Thanasis. It's a high price, and it needs to be loud, because we are talking about one of the most dominant players of this era, an athlete who impacts both sides of the court and who, single-handedly, changes the identity of any team. Now, breathe and imagine what a Steph and Giannis duo working in a well-coached system would be like. The fit, on paper, is almost scary. Steph pulls defenders away from the paint like few others in history. Giannis destroys any minimal space he finds by attacking the rim. It is the combination of absolute perimeter with extreme internal power. When two such complementary styles meet, the opponent's defensive math starts to fail. You can't fold both at the same time with consistency. You can't live with Giannis in transition and at the same time leave Steph free for a second of imbalance. And it's not just attack. Giannis is an elite defender. He protects the rim, switches in multiple positions, covers space with ease. Draymond's absence, if this scenario existed, would be emotionally and tactically painful, but it would not leave the team without a defensive impact. The system would need to be tweaked, no doubt, because Draymond is a rare defensive organizer. However, the presence of a versatile giant like Giannis would change the starting point of any scoring plan. The most sensitive part of this conversation, for the fan, is the emotional cost. Draymond is not just a player. He is a symbol of the era. Kuminga, in turn, carries the idea of continuity and hope for a new phase with young energy. Buddy Hield, even in a more recent passage, plays a clear and useful role. And 4 first-round picks are not details, they are the future compressed and placed on the table. But the real discussion isn't about automatically liking it or not, it's about what a title window means when you have Curry at 36 years old. How many high-level seasons are there left in this package? 2, 3, maybe 4 if everything lines up. The board lives with this account in its head every day. And when those numbers get tight, the league's logic shows that champion teams tend to choose the present. This is where the conversation takes on the historical dimension that fans instinctively perceive. Some movements are not designed to be comfortable. They are designed to be decisive. If the organization believes it still has fuel for another final cycle, it needs to consider all possibilities that would put the team at the top immediately, even if the cost seems steep. And, of course, there is also the element of the competitive reality of the market. Other franchises may offer different packages, larger markets, and even more attractive young structures. And there is the geographic and strategic question of where Milwaukee would prefer to trade. None of this is simple. None of this is guaranteed. Therefore, it is important to treat this topic as a strong hypothesis within the universe of speculation, not as a definitive announcement. But the simple fact that the Warriors' name appears in this conversation already highlights the main message. The board knows it needs a real transformation to return to the highest level in the West. And this awareness in itself is relevant because it eliminates the idea of immobility and indicates the willingness to think big, as the franchise has always done in the moments when it realized it was faced with a historic opportunity. There is also an unavoidable human aspect. In negotiations of this size, players who did what was expected may be included for reasons that are not directly related to performance. Sometimes it's salary adjustment, sometimes it's market value, sometimes it's a combination of factors. For fans, this is difficult to swallow. To the NBA's cold logic, it's routine, and this does not diminish the respect for those who were present and contributed. If this extreme scenario were really close to happening, the sequence it would be natural to search for a supporting cast. Because with 2 stars of that size, the rest of the team is assembled differently. Several veterans would accept smaller contracts to chase titles. The rotation would change quickly. The team's narrative would shift towards the center of the league again, and the West would be forced to recalibrate expectations in a matter of hours. In the end, this discussion reveals something bigger than a specific rumor. It reveals a moment of crossroads. A team that still has a generational genius dominating games needs to decide whether to bet on gradual evolution or try to make an immediate leap in category. And recent NBA history shows that leaps of this size, when they work, rewrite entire chapters of the league. So I want to listen to you sincerely, because this is a fan-to-fan conversation. If the real opportunity arose, would you accept paying that price to see Steph and Giannis together? Do you understand this as the chance for one last legendary sprint with the current core? Or do you think the moral and sporting cost would be too high for such an aggressive bet? Leave your opinion, because this discussion is not just about names. It's about identity, about legacy, and about how a franchise decides to honor the greatness of the player who defines its era. And if you want to follow every update, every serious rumor, every real movement that may appear in the coming weeks, stay here. Because when an organization like the Warriors starts considering decisions this big, the entire league pays attention, and the fans cannot stay one step behind history. And that is exactly why this possible turnaround cannot be treated as just another rumor. When a name the size of Giannis enters the radar, even as a projected scenario, the message is clear. The Warriors know that Steph's time is too precious to be wasted with half measures. If this door really opens, the league changes axis. The West changes its hierarchy, and the Chase Center once again becomes the epicenter of fear and respect. Now, I want to know your position bluntly. Would you make this trade if it were on the table tomorrow? Yes or no? And what would be your real limit to try another title with Curry? Leave it in the comments, because I will read it and bring the strongest arguments in the next video. And so you don't miss anything about this story, because it could get new chapters at any time, our playlist Golden State Warriors News Today is already in the pinned comment. Click there now and watch, because each video will give you a piece of this puzzle. If this bomb goes off for good, you will be one of the first to understand the real impact and what comes next.